Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, the other Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, besides talking about my new microphone setup, which is right there, which I thought was going to deal with the noise cancellation stuff, but I don't know if I need to do a plug-in or something or what's going on with this shit, because it just does not seem to be wanting to work nowadays. So, very annoying either way. Yeah, I don't know, probably do a plug-in of some kind or something like that, because I did spend, some cash on this guy because of Honda's chat on Sunday night, and I'm saying something about there being background noise in my thing. I think it's the fan from the laptop that's going to get canceled out by the stuff, which I don't know if it's StreamYard side or what it is at this point. It's very annoying either way. But anyway, that's a new mic setup. Other things obviously we're going to talk about today would be Trump finally declaring Antifa a terrorist organization 7 to 8 years too late is what it is. Steven Crowder discussing a self-defense stance and essentially basically being what I think is interesting was when we were talking to Tim Pool the other day, he was essentially describing the fact of stand your ground is what he was basically equating to is what it is. And he's since doubled down on Piers Morgan's show, I guess. The Pierce was basically talking to him about the thing. He's like, no, I'm clarifying this, because he was obviously saying Crowder, I think him and other people were saying Crowder was trying to call a declaration or call to arms, whatever it was, which is completely irrelevant and just not the case at all is what it is. What Steven Crowder was basically describing was you have these psychotic leftist nuts out there now who have obviously taken Charlie Kirk's life, and the fact there's been at least several dozen that I've seen, I'm guessing at least 50 or 100 anyway at this point that I've seen of videos of people basically calling for more, political violence and more assassinations and stuff like that. And that's all these leftist types that are doing this, obviously. And you basically just have this continuation of bullshit then, because you have, we saw this week, you had some BS, I think it was past week here, you had some BS stat thing come out where the company behind it wasn't even counting the different Antifa terrorism, like the murder of Aaron J. Danielson in Portland, Oregon in 2020. Obviously, for those who don't know who Aaron J. Danielson was, Aaron Danielson was a member of Patriot Prayer. He was killed by some piece of shit named Michael Reinhold, who was a known Antifa member. Michael Reinhold then proceeded, a couple days after that, when the cops finally found him, to get into a firefight with the cops, and was rightfully and justifiably killed by the police at that point, because he tried to take their lives along, and I believe he actually did shoot at least one or two of them anyway, besides obviously taking the life of Aaron Danielson days before that. And yeah, the fact that Antifa was not declared a terrorist organization in 2020 alone is really the problem here entirely, is what it is, dude. So it's at least 5 years too late that Trump's done this, obviously, now. And what I find very interesting is that you've had, in the past 2 or 3 days since that declaration has happened now, you have had Antifa, you had the anonymous official Twitter account has basically declared that they're Antifa. You've had a bunch of random leftists being like, we're all Antifa, and it's so you're all terrorists? You're admitting to being terrorists now? Doesn't really seem like a smart move to make there, man. Just gonna say it. And then, of course, you have all these fuck sticks that are just basically copy and pasting each other's stupid ass updates, where it is some 3 or 4 line bullshit or whatever it is there. And honestly, what it looks like, honestly, is they went to one of these AIs, ChatGPT or whatever the case be, and it was whatever that spit out as the main phase or whatever, the main phrasing or whatever it was. That's what they basically copy and pasted, and then just did an update status, and then other people found that person's thing, whatever it was, and just did the same exact thing, copy and pasted that person's thing and just did it on their own post or whatever then. And to me, it's just so dumb, because it's these morons are falsely declaring that Antifa has no leadership structure of any kind, is what it is there. They might not have a centralized leader. That's one thing I have seen. I have not seen a Jim Jones type or anything like that coming forward or whatever. I know the Weather Underground used to exist back in the day. I feel like they had some leadership at the top of the central figurehead type, whatever it was there. I could be wrong about that one though, because I haven't looked at that enough as what it is right now. But I know like there are obviously terrorist organizations. Usually we'll have like the top guy and stuff like that. Like obviously, our government claiming it was bin Laden back in the day for like a main Islam terrorist group. There's what it is. But the thing of it is, like, that's what makes the Antifa, I believe, a little bit different is what it is there, because they don't want to have that central leadership role, because they know if they did, it would be much easier to declare them an actual terrorist organization is what it is there. But the fact of the matter is, when you have them openly in a bunch of different countries worldwide at this point, not just America, like they've been all over Europe for like at least a couple of decades now anyway. And the fact of the matter is, it was back during Biden's BS administration that you had a bunch of these people illegally make their way through our border that were from like Germany and like Sweden, all these other countries like that, that were like the Antifa leadership of those countries basically. And the really scary part about that actually is, and that really the terrifying part about that is the fact that these people that have broken into our country illegally and invaded our country basically what it is there, they actually have the terrorist training of like exactly how to do these events and like basically be the sleeper cells and stuff like that. And so that's basically what I think we're going to see very soon is stuff like that come about. And especially when the fact you already have like several of these groups there in Oregon and Washington State and stuff like that, and they're now being essentially like leadership by these people from overseas is what it is there. Like, yeah, they need to be, not only do they need to be declared a terrorist organization, they need to be going after hard at this point, dude. Like, it needs to be like mass roundups and arrests and stuff like that for this shit. And slap them all with terrorism charges at that point, obviously, across the board is what it would be then. Because God forbid there's another, Charlie Kirk style assassination. God forbid there's another, attack on Trump's life and stuff like that at this point. That's another thing too, by the way. Like a lot of these leftist people that are out there like espousing this, political violence and stuff like that, this political rhetoric, etc., they are openly calling for that to happen to President Trump, to Vice President J.D. Vance, etc. And the fact that they're not being arrested for that stuff, when that is legitimately direct calls for violence at that point, and really it's direct calls of terrorism at that point, because the whole point of terrorism is, for those who don't know the definition of terrorism, it is literally the unlawful use of violence and intimidation in pursuit of political aims. So these people are textbook definition committing terrorism on this country's soil right now, and they're not being arrested for it. And it just blows my mind, honestly, because it's like, dude, like, at what point is enough enough? Like, at what point do we like put our foot down and be like, no, fuck you, like you're done, bro. You're done forever. And honestly, like, I feel like we're in a position right now in this country's history where the only way for this shit to actually legitimately stop is for short drops and quick stops, honestly, dude. And I mean that for real. Like, it's time to go full founding father Gallup style shit at this point on these fucking terrorists, because the only way to deal with terrorism, the only way to deal with high treason, etc., is that exact means. And the fact there's been so many people on the left side of history right now is what it is, that have openly done these crimes, and they're not being arrested for them, not being charged with that stuff, they're not being, dealt with accordingly because of that, is why we're here in 2025, why we've seen the murder of people like Charlie Kirk, the attempted murder of people like Donald Trump, the attempted murder of people across the board, the murder of Aaron G. Danielson, et cetera there, and that's the thing. And like I said, when you have these bullshit polling places that aren't even adding in Aaron Danielson's literal political assassination back in 2020 as what it was, which was left-wing violence against the right, like, that means that entire poll is just absolute bullshit after that is what it is, dude. Or that entire survey, whatever we're going to call it at that point, is absolute bullshit at that point then. Which makes sense, because even when you look at a lot of the ones that all these anti-gunners always go after, when they're like, oh, look how many people support gun control, and when you actually look at what was asked and what was, done and stuff like that, it's always like some bullshit vague question of like, oh, do you support this? Like, basically they'll have some, essentially what it is, you have these people that are doing these polls. They'll go on some liberal ass college campus and they'll walk to like 100 people or so, or something like that's what it is. Or I guess technically in some cases about 300 or 400, something like that is what it usually ends up being. I know I saw one here from Ohio a couple years ago, because it was after a constitutional carry thing here in the state, and it was, I forget what the college was that it was at. It was like Ohio University or something, maybe, I think, offhand, but I can't, it might have been one of the smaller, like, community colleges or something like that. But either way, it was claiming like 80 something percent of people supported like gun control or whatever the case be. And then I started looking into it deeper and like doing like a deep dive into the whole thing. It ended up being like 435 people they actually surveyed for this thing. And of those 435 people, it was like 80 something percent of them supported like some BS thing of gun control. But then when you actually looked at what they were asked for that question, it was like something of like, oh, do you support like kids not having access to firearms or something like that? What it was. So it was like this whole bullshit is what it is, and it's all fucking lies, dude. It's literally the left just lying their fucking asses off constantly about this shit. They know they don't have the fucking numbers. They don't have anything at this point. They are literally, the Democrat Party is literally dying out completely is what it is right now. That's why they keep importing people to become the new voter base is what it is there. And it's just fucking ridiculous is what it is. I don't know if this mic is picking up the background noise of the train right now or not. Hopefully it's not, but who knows? There's a train coming through right now. I know that for a fact, though. So I don't know if it is or not, but I'll go back and watch later. Is what it is then, just to confirm on that one. Because if it is, I want to make sure I'd have this mic muted, obviously. But in like feature streams with other people and stuff like that, if it's not picking up that train noise, I'm not going to bother them. So anyway, but yeah, to reiterate what I was saying though, the whole point is the Democrat Party, they're fucking scumbags, dude. They're absolutely demonically evil at this point. And it's time for people to wake up to that fact, dude, that we have actual demons in our country. We have actual demons on Earth right now possessing people, whether it be politicians, whether it be, political influencers, whether it be celebrities, etc. And it really is time for mass exorcisms in this country. It really is time for forced exorcism of people that want to take political office in this country or are already sitting in political office in order to keep their jobs for that matter. And if they're not willing to consent to an exorcism test anyway, they don't need office anymore is what it is then, because you know for a fact they're demonically possessed is what it is then. So, yeah, it's time to do literal fucking shit like that is what it is there, man. So, anyway, but, yeah, like I was saying, though, going back to the whole Crowder thing, though, I believe what he was calling for, but he wasn't able to say exactly what it meant there is what it was because he forgot the phrasing is what it is. He was essentially calling for stand your ground of people on the right is what it is. Because what he basically was telling Tim Pool yesterday was how if people that are on the right side of history right now are going to be out and about doing anything like Charlie Kirk related stuff is what it is, debates and whatnot, and you have some like psycho leftists come up and try to assault you, you have a right, every single right in this country to, defend yourself against these people. And if they're, you think it's like a physical threat to your life, you have a right to shoot them, basically is what he was saying, what it was there. And he's right about that one. And I believe truthfully that with all that right now, this is exactly why I think, unfortunately, we're going to see more violence from these leftists, because the fact of the matter is, you have all these piece of shit Democrats out there who are openly telling Trump, be like, oh, tone down the rhetoric, yet meanwhile, the other side of their fucking mouth are saying the exact same thing or espousing more fucking hate is what it is there to like fuel more fire and stuff like that, like throwing more gas on the fire is what it is there. And it's just fucking ridiculous, dude. If we actually, like, and that's the thing too, like, if we actually lived in a true law and order society right now, people like Stephen Bonner, the guy that calls himself Destiny, would have already been arrested on inciting terrorism at this point. And so would Hassan Piker, for that matter. Like, both these pieces of shit would be sharing a prison cell right now at a federal facility for terrorism charges, basically, is what it is there. And you would have also seen a bunch, not only would you have seen Trump declare Antifa a terrorist organization like he did, you would have seen him do the same exact thing with Black Lives Matter. He would have done the same thing with Redneck Revolt, which is one of the Antifa offshoots. He would have done the same exact thing with Revolutionary Communists. He would have done the same exact thing with pretty much all these leftist terrorist organizations. And then on top of all that, what he should have done, besides all that, he should have also made declarations against Michael Bloomberg, Everytown, Giffords, Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, and every other anti-gun group out there right now for just conspiracy charges, what it is there. Because every single one of these fucking groups have openly committed seditious conspiracy in this country, by actively going, and not only that, they've also done RICO Act criminal crimes too, for that matter, because they bribe state politicians in a lot of cases to pass gun control. He should have gone for every single one of these fucking groups right now, including starting with Michael Bloomberg and Shannon Watts at the top of the heads, is what it is there. And also Gabby Giffords too, for that matter, would be the third person. And then basically gone down the line from there is what it would be then. But the entire point of the matter is you have these anti-gun groups like that who are openly bribing politicians in many states and across this country right now to pass unconstitutional gun controls and make giant gun-free kill zones in this nation right now, out in through college campuses and elementary schools, grade schools, high schools, etc. And then not only that, not only they're making those, obviously gun-free zones and stuff like that that are easy soft targets and things, they're making other places into the same exact thing. And this is the entire problem when it comes to the left in a nutshell right there, dude. They are openly committing, you might as well say, ritual sacrifice at this point, honestly. And I believe, honestly, a lot of this stuff does go back like millennia is what it is, dude, because it makes sense when you look at, how things used to be back in like the Mayan days and stuff like that, like centuries ago, and them like doing like virgin sacrifices and stuff like that. And if you look at, going back to the demonic evil, potentially these people are, possessed by these demons and stuff like that. If you go from that aspect of things and whatnot, and this from a, kind of good versus evil standpoint is what it is now, you realize that what a lot of these people are actually doing is they are sacrificing humanity to whatever fucked up demonic god they're basically going with is what it is there. Like Moloch or Satan or whatever you want to call it at that point, honestly. There's like a million fucking names, honestly. Various ones that are out there, not to mention the ones that we don't even know about from like other dimensions and stuff like that, because that's another thing people were talking about with the DMT stuff a while back. It's how a lot of these Democrats that have taken this shit, like they've done like microdosing and stuff like that, and they'll go into like this alternate reality, which, obviously for those who don't know, I believe it is 4 dimensions that we live in right now as humans. And then when you're on these like psychotropic drugs like that, you can actually see into like 5th and 6th and stuff like that. Cause I want to say there's like 9 or 10 is what it is overall. I want to say it's like 9 that we know about right now or something, because it's like up, down, left, right, side to side and stuff like that. And then it's like other like spots here and there is what it is. So, but that's the thing. Like you have like our dimensional view is like a box basically, whereas you might as well say with the other dimensional stuff there is what it is. It's basically a box and another box within that box is what it is. So it's like 2 boxes together essentially, and that's where you get the full dimensional view is what it is. And I guarantee there's other beings out there that are in those higher dimensional planes and stuff like that that definitely are both good and evil for that matter. And when you think about it, when you have these people that may have been human at one point in their lives want to seek that ultimate power, want to seek that ultimate, evil basically is what it is there. What better than to turn to these other entities and stuff out there and other dimensions and things like that. So it makes absolute logical sense for them to make deals with these creatures, with these entities and stuff like that for power. And the thing about it is, there's been that phrase, I think I believe it was Spider-Man's Uncle Ben said it in the comics about, great power, great responsibility. But then there's also been another term for, I believe, centuries. I'm not sure who actually coined it, but it was basically ultimate power corrupts absolutely. Or sorry. Absolute power corrupts absolutely is what the actual term is, what it is there. And that is absolutely true is what it is, dude, because that's the thing. When you actually have that power, you are simply trying to go and continue on that power structure, what it is there. And so you're continuing to, do what you have to do to maintain that power or get better power is what it is there. And because of that, you're going to do, like in a lot of cases, a lot of these people are going to do what the fuck they have to do to maintain that power structure. And when they're doing that, it is turning them into something that more than human at that point, which is, demonically evil at that point is what it is then. So, yeah, I think the only way to stop this is literal exorcisms and stuff like that, to have, demons be outed in the halls of Congress and things like that is what it is there, dude. And then you simply, exorcise a demon out of them potentially is what it is there. So, and then as it was, I think it was earlier today, you had, it was on the U.S. House floor there. You had some kind of, I don't know if it was supposed to be like a resolution that they were passing or like a referendum or what exactly it was, but basically it was some kind of a thing to recognize Charlie Kirk for his accomplishments and stuff like that in this country, and that his death should not be obviously, used to further more violence and things like that. That's what it is there. You had, I believe it was like 58 Democrats vote no on this. You had another 30 something ish, I think it was like 38 or so, just vote present. And then there was 22 of these pieces of shit that didn't bother voting at all is what it is there. So you had 108 sitting Democrats in the U.S. Congress right now that literally voted for evil. And I'll tell you what, dude, like this is exactly what we need automatic qualifications to receive the power in this country, both from holding office and for running for office, because we actually had auto decus right now in place. These fuckers all should have been kicked out of office right then and there. That as soon as that vote happened, it should have been like, okay, you have 108 people, get the fuck out, don't come back. Your job is no longer here anymore, and your congressional district doesn't exist after this anymore. Either two, for that matter, go fuck yourself. Because the fact of the matter is, we actually did that stuff. We held these people accountable for their actions, for their disgusting behavior and stuff like that, for their absolutely demonic, evil energy. We could have a so much better country right now, is what it is, dude. So, I also want to discuss for a couple minutes about what happened last night. The debate between Yankee and Honda, which basically devolved into a screaming match at one point, like about 5 to 10 minutes in is what it was. So, yeah, it really wasn't good. Like the real problem is that it really wasn't, like, in my opinion, it really wasn't like a debate to begin with. Like it was supposed to be a debate, but then it turned into like this whole like non-debate pretty quick as it is there. Because Honda came prepared. He had like a 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know if how to say it was 4 pages or 5 pages. Like opening statement, basically. Yankee had nothing. And then it was basically Yankee trying to use his like previous knowledge or whatever it was there, or like previous work experience as supposedly a mental health professional, to try to basically shit talk Honda for like at least 15 to 20 minutes. Honestly, it was pretty disgusting, honestly. And I think that's why so many people said the Honda won the whole thing, because it was just Yankee basically being a dickhead the whole time and bringing up like 0 fucking points at all, and then not even willing to admit that there's like so much fucking leftist violence out there to where it's more or less like all of it that's coming out right now. And the truth of the matter is, we actually look at political violence in this country for like the last, I would say, at least 10 years anyway. So it would be basically when 2015, when Trump decided to run for president the first time around and stuff like that. And you started having people wearing MAGA hats out in public and being, assaulted by like mobs of leftist people and stuff like that. Then, like, I remember the one that I recall from my autistic memory and stuff like that is that you have so many of these people that were basically mobbing up on this woman, and they were like pelleting her with like eggs or something, I believe is what it was. And it just like, it's like so vague in my memory and stuff like that, like where it starts to come to the forefront when I'm thinking about it, that image is just kind of like burned into my like long-term memory is what it is there, because it was just so disgusting and horrendous and stuff like that. Because you're literally you have a mob of like 20 to 30 people, I think is what it was, literally assaulting a woman because she's wearing a fucking hat. Like it's just so disgusting is what it is, dude. And it's just gotten so much worse since then is what it is, where you have these people who will openly, now advocate for murder, literally, instead of just sitting down and having an actual conversation with somebody and an actual debate with them about a topic or whatever the case be. And this is why I said in the past week or so here that I would like to go to these college campuses in the future and maybe try some of this stuff myself. But at the same time, I would not go from not being allowed to be armed on the campus as what it is then, dude, because there's no fucking way in hell I'm going to be unarmed in them places. And at this point, honestly, I don't know if there really is a reason to even try to debate these people anymore, dude, because that's the thing. Like, you know, there's people that have even said, like, there's a bunch, like, I've seen a bunch of leftist accounts on X and stuff like that in the last couple of days now. People saying, like, oh, we just need to have, like, a two-state solution or whatever the case be. And it's like, okay, then fuck off to Canada and leave your citizenship at the door, people. Like, that's how we have a two-state solution. Like, move to another country, literally, you leftist douchebags. Like, you've already proven multiple times over to have hate that you fucking hate America like crazy. So why even be here anymore? Like, take your shit, pack your shit, move to Canada, move to Mexico, move to someplace in Europe, whatever the case be. There's the door. Get the fuck out. Don't come back. And then we have a better America at that point because we'll simply take your citizenship and we'll give it to somebody who actually needs it, who actually deserves it, who actually wants to embrace America as an American and gives a fuck about this country, because you obviously don't, because you're still voting Democrat in 2025, for God's sakes. So, and not only are you voting Democrat in 2025, you're openly endorsing the worst candidates possible in the races in most cases, that are the people that are pro-abortion, gun grabbers. You know, will sit there and espouse political rhetoric constantly like your Jasmine Crockett types, calling for violence all the fucking time. And then we'll sit there on the other side, like a day or so later, they'll be like, I never said that shit. And it's like, bitch, it's literally on camera from less than 24 hours before that. And that's another thing, too. Like, why is Crockett still in office, dude? Like, she should have been tossed the fuck out months ago at this point. And if nothing else, like, for sure in the past 7 days, she should have been fucking kicked out of Congress. There should have been a vote to kick her out of Congress at that point, honestly. And I would say the same thing with Ilhan Omar, for that matter, when you have these fucking rhinos the other day vote against, I think it was censuring her or whatever. It shouldn't even have been a censure vote. It should have been, hey, this bitch is no longer in Congress because she's not a fucking American. She's not a U.S. citizen anymore either, too, for that matter. She is now being deported to fucking Somalia, where she loves. And that's another thing that bothers me the most, honestly, is like, why are we letting foreign nationals hold political office in this country when they are openly going to places and doing speeches in their original dialect that is not English, obviously, and using that dialect to openly discuss how they love another country? And that's another thing, too, by the way, going back to Omar this week. This bitch had the audacity to go on the United States House floor and talk about how fucking great Somalia is in the leadership of Somalia. And it's like, then take your fucking piece of shit, third world terrorist ass back to fucking Somalia, you fucking whore. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. We don't want your fucking terrorist bullshit fucking people here. Take them all back with you. Take your fucking voter block that should have never been given U.S. citizenship to vote in this country ever, and is the only fucking reason you're even in Congress to begin with. Take all their fucking asses back to Somalia with you. Starting with that fucking piece of shit, I am the captain now, motherfucker, Omar Fetch, or Fatih, or fucking this dumbass name is what it is there. So, but yeah, it's just absolutely fucking disgusting what it is, dude. Like, I'm so sick and tired of these fucking people. And I think most of us are, is what it is. Like, it's basically not only fatigue at this point, it's just pure exhaustion at this point, honestly. And, like, enough is enough. And actually going back to other orgs that Trump needs to declare as terrorists, I forgot about a couple of biggest ones, actually, which are the John Brown Gun Club and then the Socialist Rifle Association. Because both of those, if you go on Reddit right now and look at either one of their subreddit things, there's what it is, they are openly calling for violence, too, for that matter. And you're not having the people that own Reddit shut down their accounts, ban them, etc. You're not having the police go and arrest them for literally inciting terrorism and stuff like that. And they're basically just allowed to do this shit, man. And that's exactly why I think we're going to see more and more of these, because it's going to be these people from these fucking leftist terrorist organizations like that. They're all Antifa tied, by the way. Like, it's just offshoots of Antifa at that point, that are going to be the ones who are going to do these political assassinations in the future. So will be then. and God forbid, it's a sitting governor or a sitting state rep or another sitting state senator or whatever the case be, or hell, they could try and take like a pot shot or something at JD Vance, for God's sakes, as vice president. I mean, they've already tried to take Trump out a couple of times, and the reason I say that they would obviously do this against Vance specifically is because I believe personally that people understand and know for a fact that Vance is the next in line to become the president of this country in 2028 and beyond. And it was the same thing with, I think it's the same exact reason why these leftists actually killed Charlie Kirk is what it is then, because they knew at some point he was going to be either a vice president or a U.S. senator or even the president for that matter. And they took out a future leader of this country is what it is there. Now, granted, that being said, I've heard all kinds of crazy theories going around now from various people claiming that Israel is involved in this somehow. That's just fucking nonsense, dude. Like, everything is not a conspiracy, people. Like, sometimes it is just some leftist nut with a fucking trans girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the fuck they want to call it at that point. But yeah, sometimes it's just some nut fucking a tranny, like, you never know, man. But yeah, like, not everything's a giant conspiracy theory. Like, now granted, that being said, could there have potentially been a second shooter? And that would make more sense of why, the shit looked like it did when Charlie was killed and shot in the neck, like that's what it is there. That's a very real possibility, honestly. And I wouldn't put it past these people to have, the fact of the matter is, what we know now, about a week or so later, because it's been, 9-10 days now or so, give or take, since Charlie's assassination. So what we know now is that you basically have what amounts to a small terrorist network there on Discord that were all part of this Discord that this guy was part of, where he was basically telling them what was going to happen. And they were like, I think a lot of them were encouraging, and actually too, for that matter. And the fact that, as far as we're aware, like as everyday citizens at this point, that there's been no arrest made of these people yet is kind of ridiculous. Now, granted, that being said, there may have been arrests made by the FBI, etc. You just don't know about that yet, what it is, because they haven't actually announced them yet. But the fact of the matter is, though, yes, there is, I believe truthfully, this definitely was a sleeper cell thing, is what it is there, of transgenderism and just nut job leftism is what it is there. And I believe there are at least probably, I would say, give or take, like 20 or so of these little networks like that are leftist, like trans identifying, stuff like that kind of deals out there that have gone like full terrorist mode at this point. Granted, that's just a drop in the bucket, because when you look at, Islam, for example, theirs is about probably 20 times that. So if you're talking about potentially maybe like 20 of these like little like leftist, Antifa affiliated, etc., like terrorist organizations out there and stuff like that are all sleeper cells waiting to, be given the go, basically what it is there to do something. Then you have a couple hundred that are all Islam stuff, which may even be a couple thousand at this point, honestly. I can think of at least like 3 or 4 here in Ohio that I've heard about. And not to mention, there's obviously, for those who don't know about my federal swatting back in 2019, where Andrew Yang's bitch ass. Basically, I made a video back in 2019, forgot to edit out a part of it. His Yang's little fucking fuckstick voter base at that point found that video, proceeded to send it to the feds, which I'd already been in contact with before that myself, because I actually potentially caught an actual Antifa terrorist about to do something before they did it. And that's why I was even on the radar to begin with. There's what it is. And then it was basically a couple days after Dayton in 2019, I got a knock on my door, and it was basically feds. So I had to talk with these assholes, and they were trying to basically threaten and intimidate me to delete my entire channel. Here's what it is, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually got to the point where I was like, you know what? Fuck these people. Like, no, I'm going to do what I need to do here. Like, I have the right to, say 99% of this shit. And they're just trying to silence my free speech is what it is there. So, anyway. the entire point of the matter is it didn't, like, nothing actually happened out of it, obviously, except for them basically like telling me like, oh, if we ever have to come back over again, we're totally going to rush you for some shit. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that, buddy. So anyway, but yeah, that being said though, at that same time, back in 2019 there, you had a Islamic mosque that is located, I believe it's like a couple blocks from OSU's campus. I'm not exactly sure because I never actually looked into exactly how close it is there. I've heard it's a couple blocks, but it could be like a mile radius or so, give or take there. I'm not sure exactly what the actual distance is there. But basically, wherever Ohio State's like main campus sits on down there in Columbus, there's like a mosque like pretty close to is what it is there. And that specific mosque at the time had over 100 successful and failed terrorist attacks tied to it. But yet the feds were wasting time with just some random guy that is an American citizen who actually gives a shit about this country, that's a true patriot, etc. So, yeah, like, why waste time with an autistic guy when you can literally go after an actual terrorist regime of people who don't even have the right to be on this country's soil because they are a bunch of fucking terrorists, dude, from another nation. So, like, pretty sure that would violate their ability to even have green cards in this country, let alone citizenship in this country. So, yeah, just makes no sense to me at all, honestly, dude. But again, I think I think it kind of goes back to the low-hanging fruit thing is what it is there. And unfortunately, I was just low-hanging fruit for them is what it is there. And the fact that it was like the Canton field office and they're like, well, we've got nothing better to do. Let's just go fuck with this guy's life for a couple hours. Which, I'll tell you what, if you ever want to be paranoid, dude, after the fact, like, these motherfuckers paranoid the shit on me back then because, and I swear to God, they actually sent people after me after that's what it was then, dude, to like spy on me for like next week or so. Because I think that I want to say it happened on like it was either I think initially when they had come out because I was sleeping at the time, and that's what freaked me out, like woke me up because it was back in the old house there, obviously, and they were like knocking on like the big side window in the bed. I was sleeping at the time or whatever the case be, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? And it was my mom. After they had left, she had looked out the back door there as it was and like found like a little card that had the this Tim Guy's FBI credentials and like contact info was what was on there is what it was. And that's when I even called them about it. I was like, hey, like, you guys left this number and this card. Like, what's the deal here? And they're like, oh, we just need to talk to you in person or whatever the case be. I'm like, can't just tell me what happened here, bro. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if they didn't want to be a bunch of fucking little fed boy, fuck boy dickheads is what it is there, they could have just as easily been like, hey, you know, we got calls about this video you had made. Like, we're pretty sure you're not a threat, but like, you know, when we got all these people there, obviously Andrew Yang supporters calling us and telling us this stuff, whatever the case be, or like, you know, dropping emails to us, whatever the case be. Like, I don't even know how many it was. It could have been one or two. It could have been a dozen for all the fuck I know. But yeah, they could have just easily said something like that. Be like, yeah, we got a couple, you know, emails from people thinking you might be a threat to whatever. You might try to do this. Because that's the thing. What they were trying to basically falsely claim to me when we actually did talk was that I was threatening a presidential candidate at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that, dude. You can fuck off with that bullshit. And the entire point of the matter is, I'm pretty sure, like, even to this day, that Andrew Yang is actually a Chinese communist. Like, I know he's supposedly claimed to grow up in Taiwan, or at least I think he was born in Taiwan. If I'm not, or wait, no, I'm sorry, he actually would have been born on U.S. soil. I think his parents are from Taiwan, is what it was there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually birth tourism kind of bullshit. That was what it is there, where his parents, like, where specifically his mother would have came to America and just had him on U.S. soil to be a citizen, so he could actually run for president at some point. That's what it would be. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pretty sure that Yang had direct ties to China, is what it is there, and was potentially working for Chinese government, is what would have been then. Which, again, like, if they actually want to do their job there as feds, they could investigate this motherfucker for vote buying and stuff, because that's what he was doing at the time, by the way. And that's another thing that bothers me the most about Yang entirely, dude, is the fact that, like, this dude's still walking free to this day when he should be sitting in a federal prison cell for at least the next decade of his life right now on vote buying charges, because he literally, like, he openly bought like at least a dozen people's votes by misusing campaign funds to give them a bunch of UBI money is what it is there. And it's like, how is that not vote buying, dude? When you're literally handing people like a stack of cash and being like, oh, you're going to vote for me now? Cool. Here's money. Like, what the fuck? And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the problem with our country entirely, dude. You're letting politically corrupt individuals off the hook with nothing when they should be sitting in prison for this kind of shit. So, yeah, it frustrates the shit out of people is what it is there, dude, for real. Because you know that they should be doing time for these crimes, and they're not doing the time for these crimes. So, anyway. But, yeah, so going back to the whole mosque thing is what it is there. So you had that mosque, and it was, tied to, like, at least 100 terrorist attacks that were either successful or failed. And yet you had the feds basically bullshitting and wasting time with me is what it is there. And it makes me wonder, like, just how many other people like myself back then had gotten the same kind of like bullshit fed knock and talk, basically, when you could have had these agents going out there and actually arresting like real terrorists in this country that were all, tied to Antifa, BLM, etc. But again, like this show, and I think again what this really shows, honestly, is how these polls are skewed, because you'll have these people that will then get arrested for this bullshit or the case being doing time, and it'll be labeled as like right-wing violence or right-wing, something or whatever the case be, even though it's literal feds just trying to get fucking patsies for shit is what it is there. And I maintain to this day now, after the fact, because it took me probably about, I would say 6 months or so, because this happened, obviously it was August of 2019, and it was around probably like February, March of 2020 then, after everything had started to go. I think it was more, it was probably like January of 2020, actually, now I'm thinking about it, maybe even December of 2019, so it would have been about 4 to 5 months, give or take, is when like the wheel started turning into my autistic brain is what it is there, and realizing what these fuckers were trying to do was basically trying to make me a patsy for something later on is what it was there, because they were just looking for the autistic, what they thought was that I was low functioning autistic, I think is what it is, and that they would be able to basically railroad me into some bullshit thing or whatever, that they could be like, oh, well, we could give you like 5 or 6 years in prison for this, or you could come work for us for like a couple of years or whatever the case be doing this shit. And then it would have been like some fucking Patriot Front mask or some fucking, Blood Tribe mask or something like that. They would be forcing me to wear around and do these stupid ass events for these psyops and shit like that then. So I wouldn't be surprised, at least. I think that's exactly what they can do with a lot of people, actually. Like a lot of those guys are federal informants, or like in that case, they were caught up in something. They were basically given like a weird plea deal where it's like, do these psyops for us for 3 years and you're off the hook, basically, what it'd be or something then. So anyway, and going back to the federal informant thing, I think that's exactly what happened with the whole Whitmer kidnapping plot BS is what it is there, because it would be the exact same thing there with her, where it was like, I think there was like 2 or 3 guys, maybe at most, that were just like actual, like, the no-brainer guys is what it is there, that were like either autistic or they were like some kind of other issues and stuff like that. And they basically got caught up in the plot is what it is there. And obviously it would have been entrapment at that time. I think that's what I think that's why the judge ended up dismissing a lot of the cases what it is there, because of entrapment charges and stuff that they would have been having from the feds and shit. But yeah, there was like, supposedly like, I think it was like 20 or 22 people involved in that or something crazy like that. And it was like almost 20 of them were all either federal agents or they were federal informants that were in this group of guys, basically. So like that just tells you like it's just the feds making the shit up is what it is, dude, and like trying to get people to like do stuff is what it is then. Because and the saddest fact of the matter is they have actual terrorists they could go after, they just choose not to. So it's really fucking infuriating when you think about it, man, because, you could say the wrong thing one day and it's like, oh my God, now you got a fucking Fed knocking at your door, whatever the case be. When the reality of the matter is, if they actually wanted to do their job and catch actual criminals, they would simply just go after Islam at this point, or go after the left at this point, honestly. Because these are the people that are the actual criminals of our country right now, is what it is, dude. They're the ones committing these political assassinations. They're the ones committing all these various terrorist acts and, all this various quote unquote gun crime, etc. there. So, but that would, I think the whole point of it is, though, is that would actually mean that these people that are in the federal agencies would have to do real work for once in their lives is what it is, and not just sit back at a desk and get a fucking paycheck. So, yeah. But anyway, I think that's roughly about it for today. It's not really much more to talk about than that, honestly. I mean, I got the mic set up and stuff like that, and it seems to be good now. I already talked about the Antifa declared terrorist organization finally. Like I said, Trump needs to do about 50 more is what it is. There are various offshoots of that group and other groups and stuff like that. And just seriously just start demolishing the left at this point, dude. Like one terrorist org at a time, basically is what it is there. So anyway, but yeah, for sure, I believe personally that, and I know a lot of people believe this too, like with what Stephen Bonnell, the guy that calls himself Destiny, as well as what Hassan Piker have said in the past couple of weeks, here's what it is then. Both these guys need to be arrested for either terrorism or inciting terror or inciting terrorist acts and stuff like that. That's what it is then. Because they might not be the direct threat, but the fact that they're calling for essentially others to do stuff is what it is there, dude. Like, how is that not inciting some kind of political violence is what it is there? So, yeah. It's easy to stop a civil war before it starts. It's very hard to stop it when it actually has gone hot. And I don't know about the rest of you out there, but me personally, I want to stop it before it starts, man. I'd rather have us be a prosperous country again to where we don't have to go to war with each other because some fucking nuts just want to be fucking nuts. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of these leftist types have just gone completely off the fucking deep end at this point. I don't know if it's the psych drugs in the water they're drinking or the food they're eating or what it is. Maybe it's just stuff being prescribed by doctors and things. Who knows, man? But like, they're obviously psychotic is what it is. And if nothing else, dude, again, reopen state hospitals, force them into them, get them the mental help they obviously need is what it is there, man. And at the same time, I would honestly say we need to start banning SSRI drugs for any person under the age of 25 at this point, honestly, or at least the age of 18 anyway. Because when you start looking at all these various mass shooters and stuff like that, especially the school shooters, and there was that study done, like I said, about a year ago now, where it can prove like everyone from like, I think it was like the late 80s or early 90s, all the way up to like the 2020s here, that these shooters were all on psych drugs and stuff. Yes, it is time to hold Big Pharma accountable criminally with the stuff that they've done, because they've, pushed these psychotropic SSRI drugs at children. And when you put these kids on drugs that literally have side effects of homicidal and suicidal thoughts and actions, and then they go and commit homicidal and suicidal thoughts and actions, how is that not you being charged with this shit then, dude? And again, it makes you wonder, like, why are these drugs even on the market if that be the case then, dude? And you realize the reason they're on the market is because so many people that are currently in political office at a federal level, in the U.S. Senate and Congress, etc., are all bought and paid for by these drug companies is what it is there, dude. And this is exactly why 2026, if we even make it to there unscathed, why the midterms need to be the first time in U.S. history in over 50 fucking years at this point that we just completely boot out every incumbent across the board, over 500 fucking people, and start fresh with a shitload of new people is what it is then that aren't corrupt as fuck. So, now granted, that being said, with the way that everything's escalating the way it is anymore, do I think we're going to make it to the midterms in over like almost a year now is what it is then? Because obviously primary season will be about 8 months from now, I think is what it is. Like, do I think we really have 8 months before something else happens? Fuck no. I think it's going to be way before that you have something else kick off is what it is. I would not be surprised, honestly, being mid to late September now is what it is. If we actually got an October surprise of some kind, it was literally like somebody else goes out on a college campus and tries the same exact debating tactics Charlie Kirk did, and they get murked out by some other leftist type of what it is then, dude. So I pray that does not happen, honestly, because that is the last thing that I personally want to see happen, dude. I do not want to see any more blood be spilled by these psychotic leftists ever again is what it is there. And the fact that we have had, like I said, the Democrat so-called leadership there that have continued to espouse more rhetoric and hate and try to blame the right for everything is what it is now. it's just leading to more and more division of this country right now, and it's bullshit, dude, is what it is. They need to be kicked the fuck out of office permanently. And I would go as far as to say strip from U.S. citizenship, kick the fuck out of this country forever is what it is then. Do permanent exile laws against their asses would be then. And that would fix a lot of these issues right now is what it is on the spot. If we just kick these stupid assholes out of power and out of our country is what it is then. Because they wouldn't be here to fucking spew this hate anymore is what it is then. But anyway, of course, that would be taking the measures that need to be taken. And of course, you'd have all these leftists freaking out and being like, oh, they just want to do a dictatorship. And it's like, no, we just want you gone to another country is what it is. Like, seriously, like, just get the fuck out, man. Like, just go elsewhere. Like, leave. You like I said, like, almost an hour ago, like, you fucking people hate America so much, dude. Just get the fuck out and don't come back. Like, take your ass to Europe, take your ass to Canada, take your ass to Mexico, take your ass anywhere else that's not the United States right now is what it is, dude. And just go. But we all know the reason y'all won't is because you suck. Because you know America is the best country you could be in ever as a first world nation. And it's the reason why you don't want to leave is because you know you wouldn't be able to get benefits and everything else like that elsewhere. You actually have to work for what you're doing is what it is there. And you potentially wouldn't be having like running water in some cases, depending on the country you go to is what it is there. So, or even a running toilet for that matter, you have to use an outhouse and stuff like that would be then. Which honestly, I was thinking about it more and more. And last couple of days, here's what it is. And I think with Trump doing the declaration of Antifa as a terrorist org and stuff like that, the fact that it seems like a lot of these people are all pro-Ukraine and stuff like that, dude, like, how hard would it really be to, like, you know, arrest them all and, like, a roundup and stuff like that? Simply strip them of citizenship, throw them on a plane, and then just drop them into Ukraine and be like, here's your new conscripted soldiers. So... you know, it would be one thing. It would basically be killing two birds with one stone at that point, honestly. So, anyway, but that's a thought, obviously. I don't think that would ever really happen, though, because, again, it would be, I don't know. It'd be like, well, I'm not sure, because if you technically would be able to strip my citizenship because of terrorism and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if they even have any recourse to that. That's what it would be. Because, I mean, technically it would be like sort of like a weird kidnapping, but if you're like conscripting them into something, though, I think that would technically be legal depending on like international laws and things like that as it would be. So, yeah, it's like a weird murky gray area is what it is there. But, anywho, who knows? Like I said, though, something needs to be done. Something needs to be figured out. Here's what it is. And if we can actually do the things the right way and get it done, we could all be better off as a country than what it is. Or really, if these people just chill the fuck out and just shut their mouths, honestly, for about 10 years, that would also work too. But again, when you have the media across the board, just like telling these people like, oh, you know, Trump is Hitler and J.D. Vance is Stalin or whatever the case be, and like everything else like that, and it's like, they just believe that shit, dude. Like, they just eat up hook, line, and sinker. And unfortunately, I think in some cases it's because they're retarded children is what it is. Like, they should be adults, obviously, but, like, the way that they come off is as literal brain-dead retarded kids is what it is there, man. And I think in some cases, going back to what I said earlier, it definitely has to do with public education in this country, because when you have this indoctrination going on of all these leftist types and stuff like that in our school systems, and they're pushing this crap and things like that, like, that's an issue entirely, dude, because you're basically spoon-feeding these kids all of your rhetoric, and of course, what does that lead to? It leads to more things what it is. And that's another thing Stephen Crowder brought up, actually, I thought was very interesting, is when he was talking to Tim Pool yesterday, he was discussing the one teacher who had basically shown the Charlie Kirk assassination video where it was him like bleeding out is what it was there, to a group of her students at the time in the school. And he was like, yeah, why would you do that? It's because you're trying to desensitize these kids at a young age to this stuff and create a generation of psychopaths in the future is what it is there. And I think that's exactly what we've done right now when it comes to a lot of what is Gen Z and stuff like that now that are in their, 20s and stuff like that is what it is there. Because, or even I would say in some cases, the Gen Alpha right now is what it is. Kids are coming up right now that are like, 11, 12, 14, whatever it is there, who, they were locked down for a year and a half of their lives in this country. And then people wonder, why we're seeing like all this different violence kick up from younger generations and stuff like that. And quite literally, it is the whole Mexican Joker thing, man. And for those who don't get the Mexican Joker reference, it's basically, there was a South Park episode years ago where it was I think it was Border Patrol guys or something like that, maybe. I can't remember exactly what these dudes were supposed to be considered or whatever. But it was basically them having like a bunch of Latino kids from like Mexico, El Salvador, et cetera, there locked up. And then they were basically like, somebody was saying something about the Mexican Joker or whatever it was. And then they had these kids in like a room or whatever the case be, and they're like trying to like essentially do that exact same thing or desensitizing these kids to like the craziness and then like freaking out on them about like the Mexican Joker and stuff like that. And what they were actually doing was in the long run, they were creating a Mexican Joker is what it is there. And it was the exact thing they didn't want to happen that they were actually creating is what it is there. But in this case, I think with a lot of the leftist types and stuff like that, they don't even give a fuck. They want the shit to happen. And that's why they're trying to create these violent, deranged kids is what it is now. And that brings us up to the last thing I want to talk about today, actually, which is I saw this video this morning where it was this one lawyer dude named, see if I can find it real quick. I think it's Andrew something, but I can't recall his last name is offhand. I know it was in the Discord here, though, so let me go find exactly where this was now. And then we'll just discuss the video here, so it'll be. Yeah, it was Andrew Brenka show. Well, his name is Andrew Brenka. He runs a YouTube channel called the Andrew Brenka Show is what it is. I can't remember if this is one of the guys that was on Rakita Law's thing during the 2020 one trial of Rittenhouse there, or if this is just a different guy or whatever. But basically, this is a little YouTube short that he threw out like a few days ago or something, is what it was, where he was talking. This happened in Riverview, Florida, and it was the police talking about this group of teens and like preteens, what it is there, where they're supposed to be 11 years old. And as Andrew brought up here, he said 11-year-old or armed invader, homeowner's worst nightmare. And it basically goes, and I'm not going to show the whole video here. You guys can watch on your own, though. But what's insane is you got this kid who's supposed to be like 11 years old, young black kid is what it is. One of these little YNs who has this whole Pusheisi mask thing on over his face. There's what it is, middle of the night. Has an airsoft gun in his hand, looks like a fucking Glock. And goes up to this person's door, turns around to do like a horse kick into their fucking door for that so-called TikTok challenge, which, let's be honest, what that really is. It is a felony home invasion is what they're actually doing there. And that's exactly what that stupid bullshit should be treated as. And this motherfucker was kicking at this dude's door. The homeowner either opened the door or the door got kicked in. I'm not sure which one it was. Homeowner rightfully pulls a gun. This fucking ass-up little kid who's 11 years old fucking whips around this little fucking airsoft pistol and like starts shooting at the fucking homeowner. And all of a sudden you just hear like the airsoft sound of like all the BB things or whatever the case be. That homeowner had every right to legally fucking kill that kid. Because number one, it was a stand your ground situation 100% of the time. It's also castle doctrine covered in all 50 states in this country. I'm pretty sure all 50 states have castle doctrine of some kind, is what it is. Anyway, most of them do anyway. The majority. So yeah, like almost every single state in this country, that guy's covered under castle doctrine. In many cases, he's covered under stand your ground laws. And when you have these little pieces of shit doing this stuff in the middle of the fucking night, dude, like this is exactly why their shithead fucking parents need to be charged as accessories to this kind of crap, because they should be the ones instilling in these kids, hey, don't go do fucking crime, you moron. Don't go out to somebody's house at 3 o'clock in the morning, break your fucking door and think they're not gonna get shot is what it is, you idiot. And we don't play around with fucking toy guns either for that matter. But that's the problem entirely with the ghetto community in this country. They don't want to do that stuff. They don't want to actually take accountability or responsibility for their fucking asshole offspring. And then you wonder why you have more black death in this country all the time is what it is there, dude. You wonder why these kids don't make it to be 18 or 21 years old. And it's like, this is exactly why. Because you're doing fucking dumbass felony crimes at 11 or 12 years old, dude. And then you wonder why some homeowner shoots you in self-defense when you're literally trying to kick their fucking door in the middle of the night. And they're about to be home invaded is what it is there. So, yeah, it's just retardation, breeding retardation. And honestly, it just needs to stop is what it is, dude. So, and how do you stop it? I mean, we could go into talk of stuff, but then it would sound very much like Margaret Sanger is what it is then. So, they're not go that route right now is what it is. But anyway. NEA should be going live in about 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm getting pretty hungry right now. I haven't really eaten all day. So I'm going to probably peel a couple of tangerines here and then I'm going to put on the air fryer and probably do some brats tonight or something for dinner. I will say one thing, and I need to review on these one of these days. I ended up, when I was at Walmart the other day, I think it was last week, actually, I was with my uncle there is what it was. So it would have been 7 days ago then. I ended up picking up a thing of chicken strips, which I think were, I don't know if they call them chicken fingers or what it was, but it was like the Great Value brand of this stuff is what it is there. I'm not sure if that's the exact same thing that they use in their bake or in their deli to do their like little chicken strip things. There is what it is. They look similar, is what I'll say on it, but it might be like a different kind or whatever then. But I did try these in the air fryer the other day. I will say one thing. They claim when you're doing them to do them for, I think it was 15 minutes, like 10 on one side and 5 on the other or whatever. And it was yeah, they made a claim of like 15 minutes or whatever, 10 on one side, 5 on the other, whatever the case be, to like flip them halfway through or something at 350. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that, dude. I'm just gonna throw them in for X amount of time at this much time, whatever then if that's the case in this temperature. Because I was like, I've tried that stuff before when it's telling me like 350 or whatever in the air fryer, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way that's gonna get cooked through is what it is there. So what I ended up doing the first time around, I did them at 365 for 15 minutes, or it was about 60 minutes, I think is what it is. And then they tasted pretty good then. And then I did them, I think it was last night at 370 for about the same time, 16, 17 minutes, something like that is what it was there. And they came out slightly better, but I think I could probably go at 375 with them, honestly, maybe even like 380 for that matter. For about that same time, and they would be much crispier on the outside of what it is. Around the 365 mark, though, is when it seemed like they were cooked through. They just didn't have any like crunchiness on the outside of what it was there. It was basically just like the breading was still like what it was. So it was no like extra like what you'd actually want to see if you're like cooking in the oven or whatever the case be then, where it'd be like a crispiness outside or whatever the case be, like golden brownie. It was more just like whatever their normal breading color is. It was basically that at the end of the day. So they were good though. You could tell they were cooked through at that time, but like I said, whatever the directions on the back are, it's definitely needs to be a little bit higher than that's what it is then, at least for my air fryer anyway. So, but yeah, they were tasty though. And like I said, I think I'm gonna try the last batch of them here in a couple of days at 375 that I have in there, because I think there was like, when I was looking at the bag last night, I want to say there was probably about 13 or 14 in there is what it was. Which I want to say that was over like $8 or $9 for that pack is what it is. So that's not a whole lot for the price that you're paying for is what it is there. But at the same time, like for some reason, like the chicken price has gone up like crazy this year is what it is. So I'm assuming that has to do a lot to do with the fact that you had dumbasses like Mike DeWine here in Ohio legitimately do the bird calling last year because they were claiming the bird flu bullshit, which is complete fucking lies. Just wait for them to call our food supply and try to fuck us over from being able to eat meat and stuff like that's what it is there. But yeah, one of these days I do want to do a debate with somebody, 2 different debates actually, which are both food related. And the first one would be how roasted chicken is better than traditional fried chicken. And then the other one would be how JoJo's are superior to potato wedges. So those don't know what JoJo's are. They basically are potato wedges, but they're like better done, is what it is. Usually small towns you can find them in, and they do like a batter on them, or what it is there, compared to traditional potato wedges like at Walmart, stuff like that. They'll just do like some seasoning or something on the stuff they cut, and then they'll throw it in a deep fryer or whatever the case be. Then so. See, I'm not so sure that he would want to debate those topics, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I need to get somebody that like is like hardcore, like, no, potato wedges are better, and like traditional fried chicken is better, etc. There, so I don't know. Maybe I'll talk Leo or somebody into it then. Maybe Shotred or somebody like that. Maybe even Corey for that matter. Who knows? I know they're all fans of those items. So, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm down for debating Honda about some stuff, but like, it depends on what the topic is at hand. Like, I definitely want to do other debates, obviously political ones at some point in the future here. Like, obviously, do a gun debate with somebody that is anti-gun. Do a pro-life versus pro-choice debate for abortion stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But again, those have to be things I have to have like quite a bit of prep time myself to do, and be like in that mindset of like, laser focused in, which unfortunately for me with the autism and everything else like that, I'm kind of, all over the place a lot of time anymore is what it is. So hopefully this time next week though, my plan right now is to basically take a bunch of the foam soundproofing things I got here a couple weeks ago from Amazon and basically put them up on this wall behind me. So where the light post is here, like all the way across to here, and then probably like another like couple feet down, I'm going to try to put a bunch of those panels up so that because this is a Cheryl, the dude next to you knows what it is there. And I know for a fact he's an asshole at night because I literally heard him this morning at like 3 a.m. I don't know what the hell he was playing. It was like some fucking, I don't know if it was like a speaker he had going on over there or what the hell it was, but it was playing like some low music or something like that. And it really pissed me off because I was trying to sleep at the time, obviously in the chair here is what it is. So I need to put that soundproofing up so I can at least hopefully they'll both cancel out my vocals and stuff going potentially through this wall behind me while I'm doing these streams, but at the same time it'll also cancel out whatever stupid bullshit's coming from his side of it is there. And then most likely my plan will be from there because I know that the guy in the unit that shares my kitchen there is what it is. Wall, I can basically wall that piece off a little bit, or not wall it off, but like do a couple panels there to like the area of his what do you call them now? If it would be like a mirror image of how mine is, instead of it being this open space here, it should be the open space on the other side. So it would be where my cabinets are, his cabinets would be on the open wall area. So maybe put like a couple panels over there so whenever he's opening those cabinets and stuff like that, I don't hear that shit. And then, yeah, basically I think I would have enough of these panels to do that then on both sides. The only issue would be obviously after the fact when I do move out of here at some point in the future, I'd have to take them down then and figure out a way to like redo the double-sided sticky pieces or whatever the case be so they're not all sticky together as what it is there. And then potentially even take a couple of the sticky piece panel things or whatever then, and then have them be able to be pulled away or whatever without ripping the foam itself so it doesn't or something. Because I know once you put this stuff up, it's like, my understanding is it's kind of a bitch to take down what it is there, and that's why I haven't done it yet, I think is what it is. So, and the fact I'm only going to be here for another 8-9 months, give or take, is a big thing there as it'll be. So, which honestly at this point, like I've gotten kind of used to this place. Like if this fucking guy was gone and replaced with somebody else, then like a different tenant or whatever the case be, like maybe a hot girl or something like that, then I would definitely stay probably for another year or so. And that way I wouldn't have to worry about like, midterm elections and things like that or whatever. But at the same time, like I would honestly rather get the hell out of here as fast as possible and find a different place, like way out basically is what it is there, to where it is more isolated in case something does go down. Like I'd much rather be like, in a safe area where I know there's not like 40 people around me at all times. So it is there, because the fact of the matter is like, I don't know exactly if all the units in this place are occupied right now or not, but I know there's at least like 25 that are anyway of the 30 something that exists here. So you have like at least 25 other people here, I think is what it is. And that would obviously include like people with kids and stuff like that. I know going to get my mail the last few times and stuff like that, I think it was like 2 units down, I think is what it is. There's a Latino woman and her kids. Like it looks like about maybe 3 or 4 kids live there with her is what it is then. And then there is a black couple and their 2 daughters that live on the opposite side on the other unit next to mine is what it is here. And I'm not sure who lives next to them. But then there's an older black woman that lives on the, like right outside my door. If you look from door to door, it's her door is the other one, about 12, 15 feet away from mine. My unit is what it is there. She had her light on for about 9 or 10 days in a row. There's what it was, and I realized it was about 2 days ago that it was finally off. And I don't know if it got burned out or if she just finally figured out it was on and turned it off. But either way, it's finally off. And I'll tell you what, dude, like having gotten used to that for like a week or so and like how much it illuminated this room when I turned my light off the other day and I realized there was like no other light, I was like, damn, it's dark in here. So, but yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. But anyway. And then, of course, there's the dude that lives next to her, which is this single father with his 2 kids that it is there. And that was told to me when I first moved in here by the maintenance guy. So, and then, of course, it's a single white guy that lives next on the shared wall with my kitchen there. And then the guy next to him is also another single white dude. And then it's this older black guy back here is what it is then. So, I'm not really, and I saw when I was moving, when I went to get my mail yesterday, because they put my one Amazon package in the mail yesterday is what it was there. So that bringing my damn door is what it was. And getting the mail out of the box there, and there was some like teen or 20 something walking from the second to last set of units down there, and then across the courtyard area. I think it was another apartment or something like that to see somebody. So I don't know if he was going to hang out with one of the people that lives in one of the other units or what it was there, but yeah. So it would be like there's a couple people I would actually trust here is what it is in case something ever does go down. But it would be maybe like 4 or 5 of us versus whatever the rest of the complex is at that point, obviously. And then God forbid, like where this place is, because this is like, you know, a set of different units that it is here in this complex. But then on the other side, there's just like single family homes, like all up and down the street, basically. So when you include all those ones, even if it's just like 1 or 2 people living in those, then it's probably like 75 people or so in this like little like single block basically here. And then when you start going like down the road and stuff like that, a couple more blocks, like it's another bunch of houses and a bunch of houses after that is what it is. So it's probably like, I would say within like a 3 to 4 square mile area here, it's probably about 150 to 200 something people so it is then that live in this area. So, and you know, how many of those people can you really trust is what it is then versus with my old place where my family used to own, it was, you had maybe like 12 to 15 houses on the street there. And I probably trusted about 10 of those people is what it was then and their families and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big difference, obviously. And that's the problem when you have like community versus no community, or you have community versus like, now you got to figure out if this is going to be a community or not, so it is there. And unfortunately, when you have more people, you have a lot more ability and have prone to violence so it is there and stuff. So really, I would just like to be someplace that I can sort of chill out and hopefully just like my long-term goal hopefully is basically just like rent like a one bedroom house or something like that. Then later on, maybe 2 bedrooms at most, if I can afford that, obviously. But yeah, it'd be nice to be able to get like a nice like a little decent size like 1 or 2 bedroom house is what it is then. And then basically have like, I would hopefully maybe get like a 2 bedroom actually, because if I could swing that, it would be, I'd use like 1 bedroom as like a studio, then is what it is, and have the other bedroom as like an actual bedroom is what it is for me. And then have, you know, like the living room and stuff like that for like the chair, and maybe get like a couch or something. That's what it is then. So, or a small love seat or something like that I can just like lay down on and stuff like that. Because there's times where I want to lay down, but like obviously I can recline in this chair and it's like it's pretty good, but like I know this thing's breaking down already underneath my weight is what it is now, so I'd like to get something else to, like, you know, long term would be then, so I can just lay on that basically. If I need to take a nap, I can take a nap. Whatever the problem is at this place, the way it is right now, it's nowhere near big enough. And it was obviously, I don't know what the hell is with the listing they put up for this place because it's nowhere near the actual square footage it should have been. Looking into the property records of this whole unit or the whole like house that was divided into 4 units that is there, I think it's just under 3,000 square feet, and or 2,000 square feet. Yeah, I think it was 2,000 square feet actually. So when you break that down into fours, it would be like 700-ish or so at max. But the problem with that is that that's not what the actual square footage is. It's like maybe like 650 at most, and they're passing it off as it's like 750 is what it is then. And I think honestly, like looking through this place and everything like that, I think it's more like maybe 625 at max. So, and that includes the bathroom obviously, and then the bedroom, and then this like open living room, dining room, kitchen deal. Here's what it is. So it's not a big place at all. That being said, it could be worse though, because I noticed when I was looking around the neighborhood the other day, my sister and I were looking at, I was looking at a couple different places, and I sent pictures to her about them, was what was there. And she ended up doing property record searches on these places and finding out the one is only like 450 square feet or something like that. It looks like somebody took an old garage and literally transformed it into a small house is what it is there. And I'm like, yeah, I could be living in that place. Like that'd be horrible. So like, I think because people would say this place might be like a shoebox. Like, no, that house over there is a fucking shoebox is what it is. But anyway. Oh shit, I just realized, yeah, NEA should be live now is what it is. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day on that one. I will be back tomorrow for Slicey Boy Saturday at some point, probably morning, early afternoon, something like that. Like anywhere between like, I would say like 9 a.m. and maybe like 12 or 2 p.m., something like that. It all depends exactly how I'm feeling and what I'm going to do is what it is then. But yeah, I got a couple new things in then here today. So I know I said I wasn't going to buy any more knives, but you guys know that that's all bullshit at this point. Like, if I can get a really good deal on something that I really, really want, like, I'm definitely going to get it then. I will say, though, I ended up getting a case for a bunch of the folding pocket knives I have now is what it is. And, yeah, that thing got super heavy super quick, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to stick them into their, like, little slot things and get them back out. That's what it is. So, but I ended up getting a new Flessa thing today, which is pretty cool. It's like a little wrench that has the attachments and stuff in there to do like screwdriver stuff too. It's like, I think it's kind of like a weird multi-tool thing is what it is then. And then it's supposed to be in a couple of days here. I'm going to be getting in a little sweet ass hatchet that'll be for a week from Saturday. Will be that Slicey Boy Saturday. Will be the little Flessa hatchet that I've got coming in now. So preview for that one. But anyway, other than that, though, that's about it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Always stand your ground when you have the right to do so, because most of the time you will have the right to do so because the left is completely psychotic, and it is time to go the Steven Crowder self-defense stance, which is to deal with the terrorist as they come. Peace out, y'all. Later.